Howdy!
Howdy!
This is the only chance I ever get to do that, so I like to take advantage of it. Well, as Ben said, my name is Shelby. I'm an environmental studies major in the College of Geosciences. This is my third semester as an intern with the office. And before we get started, I want to ask you guys, by a show of hands, how many of you guys knew we had an Office of Sustainability on campus? Okay, so some of you. How many of you guys knew we had an intern team? Okay, less of you. So before I get into the presentation today, I'm going to let them, we're all going to get a chance to speak. But first I wanted to talk to you guys about a little bit what the office does, because as you can see, not a lot of people know we even have one. So this is our intern team. You're going to get to hear from about half of us today, the ones that are sitting up here with me. And also, in addition to the intern team, we have the 2 full-time employees that we have at the office. That's Ben and Kelly. They're the only 2 full-time employees at the Office of Sustainability. And one of the main things they do, or I guess I'll say this. So we work really big with this organization called ASHE. And if you want to kind of think about it this way, ASHE is kind of like STUAC for all the Office of Sustainabilities across the country. And then all the offices of sustainability are kind of like the student organizations like this. So they're kind of the ones who wrangle us all together. And STARS is a reporting system. So it's what we do to keep track of how sustainable our campus is being. We work with a lot of different partners on campus, from waste to water, electricity use, all those sort of things to rate our university and how sustainable it is. And this is what one of those reports look like. It's open for anybody to go look at. You guys can go find it online and see how good we're doing for each individual section and where we could use your guys' help to improve on our reports. So yeah, and then, give me 1 second. All right, so before I get on to the next part, if you guys know anything about sustainability, throw out some words that you associate with the word sustainability. What other words go along with it? Yeah, see a lot of eco words, right? But at the Office of Sustainability, we actually believe in more than just the environmental sustainability. We also believe in the social and economic aspects of sustainability. So today we're going to be talking about all 3 realms of sustainability. And first we're going to start with the environment. We're going to cover the just one person myth, that one person can't really make a difference, and we're going to learn some ways that we can reduce our waste and use some things that we usually would throw out. We're going to hear a little bit about social sustainability and how social injustice is being placed across multiple demographics. And we're also going to hear a little bit about economic sustainability, how standard of living varies, and how you can live a little bit more economically sustainable. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Julia to talk to you guys about environmental sustainability.
So, holy cow, this is a lot more people than I was expecting. So if everybody could just take a deep breath with me so I can calm my nerves. All right. Well, thank you, Shelby, for the fabulous introduction, guys. My name is Julia Scruggs. I am a senior environmental studies major. And I am, once again, one of the interns for the sustainability department. I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about how we can be more environmentally sustainable. So with that, personally, I enjoy pictures, and so I included some pictures because it's more aesthetically pleasing. But ways in which we can be more environmental sustainability can include checking out the sustainability pledge, or like Shelby had mentioned, reusing old items that we throw out on a daily basis. So, going along with that, I want you guys to check out this picture and ask yourself this. If everyone lived like an American, how many Earths would we need? This map here analyzes the ecological footprint on a worldwide scale. An ecological footprint kind of has to do with how much we on a personal level consume and use, and it kind of put it all together to create a formula. So we as Americans use 4.1. I'll explain that in a little bit, but as you can see, the U.S. is the largest. The U.S. alone only accounts for 5% of the world population, but we consume over 30% of all produced goods, and we produce over 40% of all trash. So as you can see, we make a pretty big dent. So if everyone were to live like an American, it would require over 4.1 planet Earths to be able to keep up with the demand of how much we use every single day. So as you can see, we are using a lot, and it's kind of disappointing. So basing all of that off, what's the relevance of this? Well, this is where environmental sustainability thrives, and this is where we come in. A definition at the bottom kind of explains how we need to monitor what we are consuming and make sure to put back into the environment that we take away so that we can continue to live each day as well as for our future generations. But since we are in the now and I'm kind of hungry, I think we should switch on to something more important, like a pop quiz. So, if you take a look here, you'll see some delicious kisses. Now, I want you guys to remember that this is one company out of the millions we have. Hershey Company manufactures or produces and wraps 80 million Hershey chocolate kisses daily. Now, I want to ask you guys, and I would like maybe one person to give a pretty solid answer to the best of your abilities. How many times do you think we could cover Kyle Field's dimensions of 120 by 50 yards just with one day's production of this much aluminum? So, you can do the mathematical calculation, but could one person raise their hand and guess how many times we could cover Kyle Field? Anybody? Just raise your hand. Oh, yes.
I'll go with 22.
22. So she thinks that we can cover Kyle Field 22 times. That's actually a really good guess. What about you all the way back there?
340.
Whoa, that is a lot. So kind of in between the two, we can actually cover Kyle Field up to 40 times. So thank you guys. Make sure to remind me at the end because you guys get a prize. But yes, like I said, we can easily cover Kyle Field over 40 times just with one day's production of aluminum. Now for me, that's an ideal tanning environment, but as you can see, we're producing too much here. That's the typical environmentalist saying that we need to reduce and whatnot. But that's where I tend to step out and say to myself, okay, how's this possible? I am one person. How can one person make a change? We always want to see such a big change, but it seems pretty impossible, and people devote their lives to figuring out how we can fix problems. But that's what I'm here today, is to tell you guys that it can be done on a smaller scale. And I hope that you guys understand a smaller scale that we can personally do, as well as an example of a larger scale. So, that's someone's coming. This idea that we're just one person is actually known as the I'm just one person syndrome. And pretty much, as I had mentioned before, it's all about this idea of big change versus little change. We can't really make a change on a small scale, but that's not true. I'm trying here to just educate you guys that it is possible. And while it's always good to do more to do better, sometimes we can only do the small things, so we work with what we have. Now, one way in doing that is by checking out the Sustainability Pledge, which the department actually created here, and you can find it on their website. It's very easy. You just click a box or two and you sign at the end of it. But what it does is it assesses the environmental, impacts we have every day regarding these 5 topics. And as you can see, it's waste, transportation, energy, water, food. Within each section, you can learn about how you can be better and be more sustainable. So it's kind of like the concept, I don't know if you guys have heard it, if it's yellow, let it mellow, if it's brown, push it down, kind of iffy. But it's stuff like that, maybe bump your temperature gauge up 2 degrees or so. So small things like that. My personal favorite is under the waste section, where we can reuse our items. So that makes me transition into my next topic. Now guys, pay important attention, because this may make you guys want to take a step back. This could land your dream date with that one lady or man you've been looking for a while, and I'm going to tell you guys about that now. So I transition here to my next topic, which is Pinterest. Yay! So I know Pinterest tends to build up a bunch of far-fetched goals and dreams, since the pictures are obviously perfect. However, I did find a few things on there that were ways in which we can reuse items that we throw out every day. Oh, like Shelby's holding, thank you. So, simple ideas equal big impacts, and we throw away things far, far, far too soon. Now, ooh, check this out. So, as you can see here, we have several items. Hopefully you guys can see it all. But these are items that were reused, such as old t-shirts, glass bottles, aluminum cans, and any ideas on this one? Anybody? Yes! Close. Hey, that's actually a good one. I gotta try that now. These are actually my fingernails. I know, pretty cool. But that is actually newspaper on my fingernails. I saw an article where someone was posting like a story on their fingers, and I was like, okay, well, I don't really want to read, but I did find an umbrella, and so I actually ripped it up and put it on my fingers, and I was able to reprint. So here I was using newspaper to the furthest of their abilities. But as you can see, it's pretty creative and pretty fun, and the idea is that we're debunking this one person syndrome. We're using it to the best of our abilities. And here I took wine bottles because I'm legal, and I redecorated them and just found fun ways to do it. And the people who answered the questions earlier, they get to pick out one bottle. But I also took my cat cans and I repainted them, and that's really poorly written. But it's just ways to, make your room look more cool. It's a way to connect with people. It's to decorate your house, and it's really fun. So at the end, if you guys just want to come out, thank y'all for answering. Now, to go off of that, I introduced a larger scale example of environmental sustainability. That brings me into a goose, which I introduced the pluck movement. Now, every day we have to trek across campus where times get really, really, really cold. So cold, we have to strap on our Patagonia jackets just to get across to get to class at time. Now, that's totally not true. I was sweating like Dickens today. However, it has to do with the Patagonia Company. 2010, Patagonia was deemed to be cruel to animals regarding their downsourcing protocol and their system for that. Well, within that year, a change was made, and they completely redid their infrastructure from the whole manufacturing process of how we feed, how we pluck, and how they build their jackets, so to speak. So what was interesting, and you may wonder how this is environmentally sustainable, well, we had a voice, and we spoke up. We also made a change. Now this company is well respected. They have respected their company, their people, and the animals. And me being an animal lover, I actually really enjoyed hearing this because at the end of the day, I wish animals didn't have to be used for everything, but if it was done completely in a neglect-free way, that's why I really like this example. So Patagonia has been well known, and they've reestablished their name purely based off of environmental sustainability. So with that being said, those are just pictures. But ways in which you can personally change too, because here at A&M, we're taught from day one how to become one. The 12th man becoming one with the Aggie spirit. These are organizations which A&M supports that you're more than welcome to check out and possibly head to a few meetings. I do know a few people who I think are actually in the organization. I am unfortunately not. Just kidding. I've been to the NAEP meetings, and they're amazing. They have free pizza too, and drinks and cookies, so that's a bonus. But anyway, it's a great opportunity. It's a way to build relationships, and I think, like I mentioned before, we're a part of one with Aggie Spirit, so it's really nice knowing that we can be something bigger than ourselves. With that being said, I then transition to, well, how do we work as one? How can people of different types come together to be something bigger, something greater? In that regard, that is important to the demographics where someone is from, and that will help me transition into introducing the next intern, Isabel, and she's going to talk a little bit about social sustainability. So thank you guys today. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Julia, for that awesome introduction. My name is Isabella Bennett. I am an environmental business major, and I am a senior, and I'm going to talk to you guys about social sustainability. So social sustainability is probably one of the least known, least talked about aspects of sustainability. So what is social sustainability? Well, it's communities working together to foster a healthy, livable, equitable quality of life for everyone. And it's all about everyone feeling valued no matter where you came from or what your demographics are. Now we're going to dive into a topic that maybe not everyone feels, so comfortable talking about, but it also has some very real implications with today's society, and that is race. So what does race have to do with social sustainability? So race is a social construct, which means, well, not everyone knows what social construct means. It actually means that society uses different categories like your race to create classification systems that aren't based on any sort of biological backing whatsoever. So the human genome theory proves that race cannot be identified in our genes, and therefore biologically there is only one race, and that is the human race. For example, in the US, race is fixed and it's assigned at birth. But in places like Brazil, race is actually more fluid. So it's based on your parents' history, what your physical characteristics are, and also your economic status. So throughout your life, your race could actually change. If you get poorer, your race could change, and if you get wealthier, your race could change. So that just shows you how it's really a social construct. In fact, most genetic variety is within races. So I want you guys all to take a second and look at the 3 pictures here. So in your heads, just kind of make a decision. Who do you think has the most genetically in common? Out of these 3 men, which 2 would you think? So everyone has their answer. Well, it's actually kind of a trick question because they're all equally as likely to have genetically in common and genetic differences. There's no one over the other, even though the person on your right is of Indian descent and the person also lower down is of Indian descent, and they have darker skin than the white man. It's all equally likely to be genetically different and genetically the same. So though race doesn't have any genetic or biological backings, it does have very real impacts on people's lives and how they are treated daily. So I wanted to present to you guys a recent case study. You might have seen this in the news, but this is Ahmed Mohammed, and he is a 14-year-old Muslim student attending school in Irving, Texas, and he was arrested for suspicion of building a hoax bomb. And in fact, he was building a clock for his engineering class, so it was a school assignment. He said, "I built a clock to impress my teacher, but when I showed it to her, she thought it was a threat to her. It was really sad that she took the wrong impression of it." So after the interrogation with the principal and 5 police officers, without his parents or an attorney present, Ahmed was arrested and taken to the police station. Officer James McLennan said, "We attempted to question the juvenile about what it was, and he said he would simply only tell us that it was a clock." So this is actually, because it was a clock. Not only did Ahmed undergo arrest, but he also got suspended from school for 3 days. And so it goes without saying that he's now looking for a different school, and he's actually exploring options outside of the country. So it just shows you how uncomfortable he feels here. In this case, the situation wasn't necessarily evaluated off of pure facts. Instead, the school faculty and presiding officers kind of jumped to conclusions. According to Ahmed, when he walked into the room where he was questioned, an officer reclined in his chair and remarked, "That's who I thought it was." So maybe you guys can ask yourself, if Ahmed was not Muslim or dark-skinned, would this situation have been any different, or would you guys consider this racial profiling or stereotyping? Now, this is just one example, but next I'd like to show you guys what it looks like on a larger scale. So, did you guys know that there are over 2.3 million people imprisoned in the U.S.? Now, although the U.S. only has 5% of the world's population, we have 25% of the world's imprisoned population. So that means that we're imprisoning more people than any other country in the world. You can see here some of the statistics. Of all men, 1 in 9 are likely to be imprisoned. Of white men, 1 in 17. Of black men, 1 in 3. And of Latino men, 1 in 6. And you see a similar pattern amongst women. Now, you may be thinking, well, maybe the probability of imprisonment is because minorities are committing more crimes. Well, that's not necessarily true. So, 1/2 of the people in federal prisons are there because of drug use. So they're not committing crimes like stealing or murdering people or hurting people. It's drug use. And it has been proven that drug use is nearly equal among all races. So here you see a comparison. This is just one comparison. There's a lot more data out there, but this is just a comparison between white and black people for marijuana, cocaine, crack, heroin, and hallucinogens. And so you can see that it's nearly equal, yet you see that black people are being arrested at rates 10 times more than white people. So this does not really make sense numerically or logically, unless we start taking into consideration the social implications of race and what that means for imprisonment and the way that you're treated. So you may be asking yourselves, this is a huge problem, what am I going to do? What can I do to help with this? Well, you could start by talking to your friends. Let them know you respect their backgrounds and heritage. You should definitely avoid derogatory and hurtful language. Avoid racial stereotyping or profiling. There's also social resource centers available on campus, like the Multicultural Services Center. And there's just so many groups and organizations you can get involved with. I'm sure if you do research, you'll find like 20 more times the amount that I have here. But these are some that we have on campus that are really great. We have Wbac, Sustainability Coalition, Aggies to Aggies, Aggie Ally, Community Conversations, and then Step Up and Take Action, and iWeek, which is International Week here on campus. So definitely consider getting involved in some of that. And with the promotion of social sustainability practices, we also contribute to global justice, which is an important factor in economic sustainability, which Roy will now talk to you guys more about.
All right, thank you, Isabella. Hey guys, my name is Roy Garcia. I'm a finance major, and I'm a junior. And today I'll talk to you more about economic sustainability. So economic sustainability is when a society is able to manage a healthy economy that is equitable and able to maintain prosperity for current and future generations. So economic sustainability would exist if the vast majority of the people in a society could preserve a comfortable quality of life for long periods of time. Unfortunately, there are major differences in the quality of life between people living in different countries, and even between people living in the same cities. So, actually, first I'll discuss a little bit more about the differences in quality of life between the people living in different countries. So, on a national level, economic sustainability occurs when a country has a preferred percent of the population living below the preferred minimum standard of living level. So here on this chart, because it focuses on average GDP per person, I'll briefly explain what GDP is. GDP, or gross domestic product, is defined as the total monetary value of all the resources and services provided by a country. Currently, as you may know, China and India rival the US in terms of total GDP, but GDP doesn't measure economic sustainability, and it doesn't take into account economic inequalities. So, I'm sorry. So, average GDP per person is a better measure of quality of life within countries. And as you can see in this chart, China and India have a really low average GDPs per person compared to that of other countries. And they also have higher percentages of their citizens living below the preferred minimum standard of living level. And while China and India have the highest percentages in this category, all the other countries have room for improvement. So the gold standard for this category is considered to be 5%, and even the US and England are still close to 10% percentage points away from this gold standard. So not only are there differences in quality of life between people in different countries, these differences also exist between people living within the same cities. Economic growth can be deceiving. This picture shows two neighborhoods in the city of Houston. The city of Houston is considered to have a booming economy, yet 38% of its children are living in poverty. These two neighborhoods, Independence Heights, shown in red, and Old Braidwood, shown in green, are really close physically speaking, but very distant economically speaking. So the average income in Independence Heights is close to $20,000, while the average income in Old Braidwood is close to $140,000. Unemployment in Independence Heights is much higher than unemployment in Old Braidwood. Many more people in Independence Heights live without a health insurance. They receive food stamps, and many more of them live below the poverty level. So I think it's shocking that close to 1/3 of the citizens in Independence Heights live below the poverty level, compared to only 0.7% in Old Braeswood. The case of Atlanta Streets emphasizes the poor quality of life in Independence Heights. Atlanta Streets is a certified nurse assistant whose yearly income is close to $24,000. She lives in Independence Heights and is currently trying to obtain an associate arts degree from the Houston Community College Northeast so that the family can have a better future. But yet she lives on just enough to get by, but never enough to get ahead. And this might be because the neighborhood in which she lives in, Independence Heights, does not provide basic services such as a medical clinic, a grocery store, or even a library. So it isn't that she doesn't work hard, she does work hard and she's a full-time employee, but her neighborhood doesn't provide as many opportunities as maybe other neighborhoods would. So this here is a picture of a vacant lot in Independence Heights that is used by the residents as a dumping ground. Here you can see that they throw used tires and trash on this vacant lot. So what can we change in our society to become more economically sustainable? Is our consumerist economy sustainable? So unfortunately, our society seems to value consuming more than what we need. But to replace this value, we don't only need change at the individual level, we also need change at the institutional level and through the educational system. So teaching the values shown in this pyramid can really help us get closer to economic sustainability. These values are ecological sustainability, global justice, moderation, and rights of generations to come. And the value that I'll be talking about on my next slide is moderation. So how can you become more economically sustainable? One way to do this is through the value of moderation. So we can all drive vehicles that are more energy efficient because they save a lot of money and they have less of a carbon input. We can all carpool to reduce gas costs and carbon emissions. We can all unplug our electronics when we're not using them because they still consume energy. And lastly, we can all buy groceries rather than eating fast food so often. So why might the struggle seem real for a college student who tries to buy groceries or who tries to eat less fast food? This might be because there are many fast food restaurants here on campus and near campus, so it might seem very convenient for college students to want to buy fast food at these restaurants every day. But buying groceries is actually worth it and a much better choice than buying fast food every day. Because groceries can actually improve your health and can help your wallet as well. Many college students believe that fast food is actually cheaper than buying groceries, but this is simply not true. Buying groceries, or I should say groceries, last a much longer time than fast food, and fast food may last for a day or two, but groceries may last for several weeks. So, besides eating out less, there are many other ways to live a more sustainable life. And if you're particularly interested in economic sustainability, there's a group that was recently formed in Mace Business School that's called Net Impact. So you can look into them if you're interested. And if you're interested in more ways to get involved in sustainability, with sustainability in general, you could hear Shelby talk to you guys about this.
Okay guys, so that kind of ends the educational part of our Sustainability 101 presentation. And as Roy said, I'm going to give you guys some ways to get involved around campus and to make changes in your daily lives. So a big way you can make changes in your daily lives and will really help us live more sustainably is if you go online and check out our sustainability pledge. So this is a pledge that our office put together, and it has a lot of suggestions and little things and also big things you can do on a daily basis to make changes in your life. And we also believe at the office that making community connections is a really easy way and one of the most impactful ways to make a difference. So once you get all the information that you got today, you go take our sustainability pledge. You're basically an expert on sustainability, and you can go tell one of your friends and they can do it with you. So that's the last thing I want to say about the slides is don't just come and hear what we have to say. Actually try to implement some of these things into your life, because that's what we're really here for. And I know a lot of you guys are probably here just to get the cool Camelback water bottle, but that's okay with me, because ever since our office started implementing water bottle filling stations on campus, we've actually had Aggies all across campus help us convert over 1 million plastic bottles from landfills. So that's from using those reusable bottles that you're going to get today, using our water bottle refilling stations, and that alone can help make a huge difference. So I really encourage you guys to use your bottles once you give them to you. And then last but not least, these are all the opportunities we have on campus and through the office where you can get involved. I am the social media coordinator for the office, so you can follow us on all of these things. We do post on there, and we have other giveaways, not just water bottles, but t-shirts, reusable grocery bags, and you can keep up with us on there. We're also starting a YouTube channel series called Sensibly Sustainable, and we're just going to have little ways that you can make changes in your daily lives to live more sustainably. You can find us on YouTube. And the link to that is also on our Facebook. We also have the Sustainability Coalition. You can join their group. And then last but not least, this is our STARS report that I was talking about earlier. So that is it. That's all we have for today. Please make sure that you fill out your surveys and turn them in to get your water bottles in the back. And thanks for coming.